All right, Stu, welcome to our live studio audience. This is the Main Street Revolution podcast where we interview small business owners around the Venice and South Florida area. So I have a guest today who's from Locking Arms Wellness. She's going to introduce herself, her company, and then tell us how she's going to help everybody out today. So good afternoon. Tell us your name and the name of your company.
Thank you, Mike. My name is Kelly Beal, and the company's name is Locking Arms Wellness.
Okay, now Locking Arms Wellness, what kind of company is that?
It is a health coaching business where we coach people, whether it's mindset or nutrition, in helping them meet whatever their health and wellness goals might be.
Okay, so would you consider yourself more of a diet center, a dietitian, or more of a motivational, inspirational, physical coach?
I'm definitely not a dietitian.
Okay.
It's really about motivating people to make transformational behavior changes in their health and wellness. That's the only way they're going to be able to achieve their goals, is when you're looking at transformational change. And to me, that we have to look closely at two factors when you're considering transformational change, and that's what you put up here and what you put in here when it comes to health and wellness. We pay attention to what we consume cognitively and what we consume nutritionally. And those two factors play a major role. If you've addressed those two factors, then you can do just about anything in terms of transformational health.
Okay, do you want to expand on one of those two factors?
Yeah, mindset, because that's what I have a history. I have coached and trained adults in mindset, executive skill function, and social skills for the last 14 years. And that is where you're going to see the biggest transformation. If you can once you get that growth mindset and you start to develop these skills, composure, assertiveness, being able to make choices, giving yourself positive intent instead of judgment, offering yourself empathy, offering others empathy. We're a very judgmental society, and we got to take the judgment out of our health and wellness, because that blocks us from being able to really go the extra mile, because we're too busy sitting in judgment. If we can just offer ourselves empathy and realize and say to ourselves, this is going to be hard, but I'm totally capable of doing this, that's the mindset I want people to get to.
Okay, we hear the words you're saying, but how does one step into that mindset? How does one train to say, I'm going to be resilient, I'm going to have some discipline? How do we do that?
That's such a great question, because it doesn't happen overnight. And when I used to do, in my previous career, when I did coach and train people in mindset, in executive function, in social emotional skills, they had to commit to me for a year, okay? Because it was a transformational change they were looking at. So, and in that course of the year, we focused on specific skills, starting with composure. Because if you can stay composed in stressful situations, then all the other skills that we develop, that I help you develop, and my team helps you develop, you'll be able to access those if you stay composed in a stressful situation. The moment you lose your composure, you slip into what we call a different state. You slip out of the executive state and into the emotional or survival state. And Mike, all those skills, access is denied. You cannot access those skills when you're in a survival or emotional state. So if you stay composed, you stay in that executive state, then you can really problem solve. You can critical think. You can have logic, verbal reason and logic. You can have access to all those skills that we help you develop at Locking Arms Wellness. But you got to stay composed. That's the first step.
All right, so staying composed is the first step. So I have a lot of listeners here, and they'll be watching on the internet. They'll be watching live. We have some studio audience today. What type of how do I know that I should be looking for you? What are some of the symptoms, or what's going on in my head that I would say I'm feeling X, Y, Z? I keep saying this stuff to myself. How do I know that those things I say to myself is something that I should go see you to help?
That's such a great question. How can I help you is basically what you want to know, right? Well, here's the thing. Health coaches are a unique field, and I'm specifically mindset and nutrition coaching. So if you have a health and wellness goal that you're struggling to achieve, maybe you want to lose weight, maybe you want to learn to eat better, maybe you want to learn to manage stress better, you find yourself constantly on pins and needles. Whatever your health and wellness goal is, if you're serious about your commitment to your health and wellness and achieving those goals, then that's where I can come in and really make a difference. But it starts with you, the client. Everything is client-centered at Locking Arms Wellness. Nobody on my team is ever going to tell you what to do and how to do it. We're going to let you take the lead, and we're going to motivate and encourage behavior change, because that's how you get sustainable change. When you make those, when you take those steps to really focus on the behavior change and not just put a Band-Aid on it, not just say, okay, go eat this and this today. That's never something I'm going to tell you to do. I'm going to help you modify your behavior so that you can stand alone on your own 2 feet and you don't need me anymore. That's the ultimate goal, is to coach myself out of a job.
That's a big thing, because I know people take either therapy or they take some kind of other coaching or weight loss, and they are there forever. They're always on the medication. They're always in the doctor's office. They're always on that Zoom call with a therapist. So at least your program has a start, and hopefully, maybe you can't guarantee the end time, but at least you have an end goal to actually stop it.
Absolutely.
So the other big question is, what is your best client? What does he or she look like? Could you just describe them as if they were going to be on the milk container, they're missing? Help us find your ideal client, starting with age, sex, location, attributes, so we can help you find that person.
Absolutely. My ideal client is any man or woman who is serious about their commitment to health and wellness and want to take steps to make transformational change. If you're ready and willing to do that, then that's where I get to step in and really help you get there. But if they're not ready yet, and not, some people aren't, maybe they're, they're experiencing a little bit of hesitation, then I want to take a deeper dive and understand what's behind the hesitation. Is it fear? Is it resistance? Is it trauma, some sort of trauma that you had from years ago? There's always reasons why people may express any sort of discourse, or even a resistance to, making some healthy changes that they know are going to benefit them. So we take a deeper dive. I ask a lot of questions in the coaching sessions, and we take a really deep dive to understand what's going on in the mind of a potential client, and how I'm going to best help you get to your goals and meet those goals and exceed those goals. But it's always about you. It's very client-centered, and you're the driver's seat. The client is in the driver's seat.
How did you even come up with these skills? Like, was it something you did to yourself personally, or a friend or family member? How does one walk into the skill set that you have?
Well, it's a lot of training, a lot of life experience, and a lot of formal training. It was a combination of life experience and formal training. I spent many years training, getting certified and learning how to train people in life skills, mindset skills, executive function skills, and the same thing with nutrition. I not only practice a healthy lifestyle myself, and I studied a lot. I studied nutrition very intensely over the last 6 years, and then I went and had formal schooling to get certified as a mindset and nutrition coach. So my experience is a combination of my own life experience plus formal education to help me be the best coach and trainer I can be.
Okay, so what made you walk into this path? Like, was there something that happened either as a child or as an adult that made you say, what, I'm going to be a health and wellness coach, and I'm going to open up my own business? What was the spark that made you go on your own?
Everybody's got a story. There's always a why. My why is that I was diagnosed with a chronic disease 6 years ago, and it was cancer, and it's been a wicked battle. And I decided years ago, after being diagnosed, that it was time to make some pretty significant lifestyle changes. And so I changed my diet, I detoxed my environment, I really stepped into personal growth and spirituality and really embraced my faith. And so with that, it was so motivating for me. And I studied so much to understand how I could benefit from making healthier choices. And then it started to kind of take on a life of its own. People started coming to me, asking me questions about health and wellness. and asking me, helping me to understand how to read a label. The nutritional labels are very deceptive, and that's if everybody could start by really paying attention to what they're eating and how they're reading the labels, you wouldn't buy half the stuff you put in your cart. So anyway, coming back to your your question, my why is that it was my own chronic disease diagnosis that sparked this interest, and then it's fueling my passion to help other people so they don't have to walk in my shoes.
Pretty touching story. So the other thing we want to know, so we have your people, we have your story. So what is one piece of advice? I almost want to go back to the labels. Can you teach someone maybe one or two tricks on how to read a label properly so they know that they should or should not take that in their cart?
Yes. The biggest thing I can tell you, if there's one thing I would ask you to look at on a label, it's going to be the sugar content, because sugar is the root of inflammation. It's the root of most chronic disease. And I wish I had the numbers in front of me to answer this question appropriately. I can get these back to you. But the level of sugar consumption from the 1970s to today has gone up tenfold, if
Yes.
not more. So what's happened is, years ago, when the food manufacturers decided to take the fat out of the foods and have everything low fat, well, they had to replace the flavor with something, so they started pumping sugar into many products. And so most products at the grocery store today, 70% of them have added sugars in them. So if I could just ask people to read the label and look at the grams of sugar, and please keep this in mind because this is a powerful visual. You have 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon of sugar. So when you're looking at the label and you see a yogurt cup that has 36 grams of sugar in a cup this size, and I'm not blowing that out of proportion. That's how much added sugar they have in some of these yogurts. That equates to 9 teaspoons. 36 grams of sugar equals 9 teaspoons. Please remember this conversion. This is so important. 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon. 36 grams of sugar equals 9 teaspoons that you are consuming in an 8-ounce or a 6-ounce cup of yogurt. So that's the one thing. If I could tell everybody, look at the sugar, read the sugar, look at the labels. If you see that much sugar, find an alternative.
But they're promoting it almost as health. The packaging that's on these things, they're green, they're happy, they're organic. Mm-hmm. So my personal question, there's sugar and sweetener alternatives. You had the 70s with the sweet and low, Equal, stevia. There's so many of them now. Equal. I don't know. But I almost think it's better to have the original sugar than to have the chemical sugar. Do you have an opinion on that?
It's such a fine line. Because the chemical, the artificial sweeteners are so bad for you, and sugar is so bad for you. So if there is a way to get around that, manufacturers, because consumers are becoming so much more savvy, they have apps now that you can download on your phone, and you can literally scan products and see if they have hazardous ingredients, see if they have excess amounts of sugar or sodium or saturated fat. They have apps now that even if you don't know what you're reading, the apps can break it down for you. And there's one that I love, and there's a couple of them out there. But consumers are catching on. They're becoming more and more savvy, which is forcing manufacturers to rethink how they are producing our products. And they're starting now. We have a long way to go, Mike, but they are starting to make more healthier alternatives than they did before. So it's really worth taking a deep dive into reading nutrition labels and understanding what's in your food and learning how to swap out those foods for healthier alternatives. And just a real quick litmus test that you can do yourself. If you're reading an ingredient label and you can't pronounce the ingredient, probably
shouldn't eat that.
Not something you won't want to put in your mouth. So that's 2 things that I would really ask people to look at. Sugar content, remember, 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon. And looking at what we just said. I just drew a blank.
It's okay. It's probably either the lack of sugar or too much sugar.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
Exactly.
we're gonna
I'm getting lightheaded.
yeah, we're gonna almost end this soon. But what I want to know a story. Tell me a story of your client that came to you, the transformation you made, and where they are now.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Keep
so
their names
yeah,
anonymous.
I won't mention their names, but I will tell you this. I had a client who approached me with an autoimmune disease. And I said, okay, when you're ready, I'd love to talk to you about how we can work together. And so she said, I'm not ready yet. And I said, I appreciate your honesty. So she came back to me a while later and said, okay, I'm ready. I wake up in pain every day. I can't live like this. And so I said, okay, what are you willing to do? What changes are you willing to make? And she basically said whatever it took. So we looked at her diet and we changed up her diet for 30 days. Okay, we switched out all the processed foods, took out the alcohol, and we replaced these with whole foods, plant-based foods, no alcohol, just a very clean diet. After day 3, Mike, she called me to tell me she was out of pain.
3 days.
After 3 days. Now,
3 days. That is amazing.
It wasn't amazing. And I will say, I can't guarantee those results with everybody, but it was amazing to see her go through that transformation. So she stayed on that. She followed that diet for 30 days, and she has told me that that was the best she's ever felt. The best she's ever felt. So that's my big win. I have a lot of other little wins with people who wanted to quit sugar, lose a few pounds, like chronic kidney disease, how you manage that. There's all kinds of things. What people don't understand is the power we have up here. And how if we just tap into that, we can manage so much, and not just manage, but avoid so many of these diseases and problems with our health and wellness. But we gotta pay attention, and I can help you do that.
Okay, so you have to pay attention and also pay attention to your body, write what's going down, and then bring that to you so you can maybe make some kind of healthy prescription or diet change for it.
Well, again, you're the driver, so you're not I'm not going to ever tell you what to do. We're going to come up with a plan together.
So it's
Exactly.
a together plan.
And Mike, that also helps with compliance, and that also helps you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Again, going back to what we said earlier, I don't want a long-term client. I want short-term clients that learn how to make healthy choices, and then they can stand alone and continue that work without me.
That sounds amazing. Now, I know today it was one of your grand opening days. We got new flyers, new website. So why don't you show us one of your flyers? I'll put the camera right on you.
Be happy to. Thank you.
And
Very
then
excited.
tell our audience how to get in contact with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Mike. Here is the brochure that we just put together that gives you information all about the businesses, all about the business, about the services we offer, and about things that we can help you do. You've got my why, which I explained earlier, why I'm doing this, the passion I have for this. And we've got our list of, like I said, of reasons why you may want to reach out to a health coach, and a list of services on the back that we can offer you, as well as how to get in touch with us, which is by going to lockingarmswellness.com, or you can email Kelly, that's Kelley, at lockingarmswellness.com, or you can call me directly on the number that's on here.
All right, we appreciate that. Make sure that you take your assessment, you go through your cabinets, you read that sugar conversion, and you continue on your health goal. And if you think you need a little bit of help when you've made that decision, come see us, give her a call. Website, brand new website with a contact today button. So Kelly, appreciate you being on our show today.
Appreciate that. Mike, thank you for having me.
And I'll see you again. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.